So, originally, I would have thought a Hawks vs. Sixers series would be like Sixers in 5 or 6 at the most. However, with Joel Embiid's injury, it makes things more interesting. Now, they're saying he's day to day. It's a small meniscus tear. And any meniscus tear, it doesn't really seem like a day-to-day injury. So there's a good chance that Joel Embiid's out for the rest of the playoffs. And when you think about it that way, it makes the series much more interesting because the Hawks have a good chance to win the series now. Now, for the Hawks, they're coming off a surprisingly quick series against the Knicks. Everyone, or at least most people, including myself, thought that Knicks vs. Hawks was going to go 7 games. It was probably supposed to be the best playoff series that we've seen. And, the first 2 games showed that. They split the series in New York. Both those games came down to somewhat of the wire. But then the next 3 games, the Hawks won convincingly, which was shocking to most. Once I saw the first Atlanta game, I'm like, okay, the Hawks are probably gonna win. I did pick Knicks in 7, but once I saw those 2 games in Atlanta, obviously because they went 3-1, but like really start towards during game 3, I'm like, the Hawks probably are gonna be in control of this series because really they would have probably swept that series if Nate McMillan brought Trae Young in a little bit earlier than he did in game 2. And Trae Young was awesome in the playoffs so far, or has been awesome in the playoffs so far. He's looked incredible. He's showing everyone that he's not just an empty stats guy. He can be a legit player on a team that can go past the first round. He averaged 29 and 10 for the series against New York, which I would say is pretty good for someone in his first playoff series. Did on a 57.42 shooting percentage, which is around where he is in the regular season. And when you think about it that way, how is he going to handle Philadelphia? Because Philadelphia, of course, they have Ben Simmons, who's a really good guard defender, Matisse Thybulle, who's a really good defender. So it'll be interesting. The Knicks really didn't have anyone that could hang with Trae on the defensive end, so that should be interesting. But on the flip side of that, you have to look at the Sixers now, because obviously the Joel Embiid injury is big. It's something that will affect them all, because without Joel Embiid, this team is completely different from what you would expect them to be. It's something that's been noticeable for a few years now. Ben Simmons has looked pretty good in the games without Joel Embiid. It always looked solid. He did 19-point triple-double in the elimination game against Washington. However, at the same time, Ben Simmons doesn't have a great track record, and he's going to have to average more than 19 points to win this series with for Atlanta. He's going to have to average more. If Embiid is not coming back, he will have to average more than what he has. And, right now in the playoffs, he's averaging 14 points a game, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. On the surface, those are really good numbers. I'm not saying they aren't. But again, they need him to take over. Tobias Harris, he was actually really good in the series as he averaged 25 and 10. He's averaged 25 and 10 so far, which is really good. Seth Curry is showing a lot of problems as well. So they have firepower, but in any playoff series, especially against a team that's as good as Atlanta, that has as many creators as it does, has, the Clint Capellas and the John Collins, you need to do more. This is a much better team than Washington, and I don't know if Tobias Harris can be the best player on a team that has to face a serious playoff team, because the Hawks are a serious playoff team, which is why, it's indicative that, what's going on with Embiid. You don't want to rush him back, I would say. And I'm sorry I'm rambling about it, but you don't want to rush Embiid back, obviously, because of the injury. You don't want to bring him back, he gets hurt, and then it leads to career-altering stuff. You don't want. So, if he can't play, Ben Simmons will need to step up. Tobias Harris could average, I still think could average, anywhere between 20 to 25 points a game in the Hawks series. for Ben Simmons needs to not average 14.8 points per game. He needs to get up to probably even over 20, which he is capable of. I've seen him go on stretches where he scores over 20 points a night. And he's shown capabilities of being someone that puts up a lot of points, even without the jumper. Also, we'll need to improve his free throw shooting. He shot 35.7% from the free throw line in the first round. And I think he's one of the first high level players I've seen have a field goal percentage over 60%, but have a true shooting percentage under 60%. So that's how bad his free throw shooting is. So we need to improve that. That's obviously been a problem, but I think he could get up to around 65 to 70%. So that's something to be somewhat encouraged by, but not encouraged by, but a baseline to reach, I should say, for him. Now, Seth Curry will probably play well. I'm interested to see, out of all the players, I'm interested to see what Tyrese Maxey does, because Tyrese Maxey was pretty good in the first round, and you guys all know how high I am on Tyrese Maxey. You know, I had him as a top 4. He was my number 4 player in the draft going in. That's how much I like this guy. And he's been really good in the first round. He played in 5 out of 5 games, and in only, get this, 16 minutes a night, 9 points per game, which is 6th on the team. I don't know about you, that's pretty good for somebody that didn't really get as many consistent minutes as you probably would have wanted him to. You know, I thought that he's somebody that should have been a consistent 20-minute per game guy, but that just wasn't the case at all. But in the playoffs, again, he's still only averaging 15 minutes a night, but at the same time, he looks more comfortable, and I think he's going to play a key role in the series as well. And I'd be happy for that, because I'm, again, a big Tyrese Maxey fan. For Atlanta, you know, obviously Trae Young's going to have a good series, because Trae Young is the engine of this team. When you watched the Hawks versus Knicks series, they were a significantly better team when Trae Young was on the floor, and that's not even using advanced stats. That's just from watching them play. You can just kind of tell that Trae Young just made that team better. Obviously, you look at the team around Trae Young, and you know, they have good players. I'm not going to act like they don't, but they're going to need to step up a bit more. Bojan Bogdanovic had a pretty good first game, I would say, and then he kind of wasn't great for the rest of the series. John Collins will need to average more than 12 points a game. DeAndre Hunter will have to average more points than he has. Danilo Gallinari has not been good at all. Kevin Huerter's been solid, I will give him that. Surprisingly, they're playing Onyeka Okongwu 6 minutes a game. I didn't think he was even going to play in the playoffs, I'll be quite honest with you, but you know, he doesn't really play much of a factor. Lou Williams only plays 10 minutes a game, but he's a spark plug scorer. So I have confidence in Trae Young playing well in the series, because Trae Young, incredible talent. You know, he played well in the first round, and you know, I kind of thought he might struggle in this playoff series because of the fact that, you know, first time in the playoffs, it's harder than you would think. But it should be interesting to see how he does against a premier defensive players in Ben Simmons and Matisse Thybulle. Matisse Thybulle, again, really is more of a fringe rotation guy, but you know, we'll see. Now, he's played 9 I'm going to use this as a reference. And I know you can't completely use it because there's context missing and all this stuff, obviously. I'm not going to go and look to see, what games, you know, certain players were playing or not, but he's played 9 games in his career against the Philadelphia 76ers. He averages 27 points and 9 assists on a 62.22 shooting percentage. Granted, you know, we'll see how that works out in the playoffs, obviously, because it's just a whole different animal, but I am confident he'll have a good series. But again, the guys surrounding me too. Bojan Bogdanovic needs to be better. DeAndre Hunter needs to be better. Even if his efficiency wasn't... Okay, no, never mind. It was pretty bad. I thought his efficiency was better, but he needs to be better because, you know, he didn't look great in that series. John Collins I kind of just want to see the point production go up because like he did shoot almost 50, 40, 90 for the series, but you know, I would like to see like that production go up. Clint Capella, he looks fine, and I think if Embiid's playing, that's going to be interesting to see how Clint handles Embiid. It's hard to contain Embiid. Even the best defensive bigs in the league have trouble doing that. Danilo Gallinari just needs to flat out be better. Like, don't be bad. Kevin Huerter's doing fine, and Lou Williams, I think both those guys are doing fine for the series. But yeah, you know, if I had to make a prediction for the series, I'm gonna suck. I'm gonna go Hawks in 6 just because I trust the star player on the Hawks more than I do the Sixers. Obviously, I think the Sixers would win this series, which won't be, but given the uncertainty of that and given the fact that it's a meniscus tear, I just have doubts that Embiid will play in the series. If Embiid's playing in the series, I think the Sixers win in 5. 5 or 6 games, we'll say. The Hawks probably, if without him, I think the Hawks might probably, and then this is going to be my official prediction, I'm predicting Hawks in 6. I think Trae Young's going to be awesome. You know, it's just hard for me to like kind of bet against him because after watching the first round and what he's shown against this Philadelphia 76ers team over the years, you know, I think it's just too hard for me to trust Ben Simmons to step it up and become the player that I think he can become, but the player that the Sixers will need in order to win a playoff series like this. I think that he'll have some moments maybe, but it's just hard for me to believe. So I would go Hawks in 6, but again, for me personally, I could be very wrong about this series. I could the Sixers could sweep the Hawks for as far as I know, but this is just based off like my gut feeling. So again, you know, it is what it is, and don't take me too seriously, guys. I'm just talking about a sport that I love. I don't claim to be an expert or anything, but I would pick Hawks in 6 to win this series. Maybe stretch it to 7. If it goes 7, it can go either way, obviously. But right now, we'll have to see what happens with Joel Embiid. That's the big thing. So, without Joel Embiid, I'm picking the Hawks to win the series in 6 games. But again, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel if you like basketball. This is my second upload of the day for a playoff prediction. Once we get the Western Conference all figured out, which we might be able to do for some of those teams tonight, we will obviously do Western Conference predictions as well. But this is the second round prediction video for the Eastern Conference. If you enjoy like these podcast style videos, subscribe. If you enjoy like actual edited videos, subscribe as well because I make videos like that. But yeah, have a nice day.